So we're going to switch gear a little in this session. The last session was about policy, high-level policy. The last session is about policy as well, but this is personal. This is about people and the experience of young entrepreneurs, of students who have been involved with the KICs. Yesterday, we heard a lot of emphasis on education as one of the arms of the KICs, and that this is bringing something new to the European educational scene. Well, this session we'd like to see how is that happening in practice. What is the impact of the various KICs on the experience of students, of entrepreneurs, of young entrepreneurs who've been involved with the KICs. So we'll have three testimonials from three future leaders of the EU. We have a fourth panelist who has no connection with the EIT or with the KICs. And in fact, we'll start with her because she will talk about an interesting experiment that's happening in this city between two universities. And this is a local initiative. And the question is, how does this link with the spirit and the ambition of the broader European instrument? And since this session will focus a lot on education and what's happening, we had a discussion this morning about European universities, and everybody has a strong view about universities. In every country they have, usually that they cannot change, they're archaic, and so on. They're not flexible. And so, having run a university for 10 years, I have a particular view, which may not be applicable everywhere, but that is that it is true on the surface that universities do not seem to change very much. Now, they've been around for 1,000 years, but at the same time, they are a peculiar structure. They're not hierarchical. So within most universities, you'll find that there's actually constant change. There are people looking for what's happening at the moment, how to adjust, how to avail of opportunities, and so on. So there's a kind of a dichotomy between what looks like the envelope of the university and what's actually happening inside. And so I think it'd be good, perhaps in the first presentation here, to get a sense of what is actually happening out there in the university world. And of course, this will be from one part of the EU, but nevertheless, maybe it might generate a discussion amongst the audience that comes from across every region and nation in the EU, as to how innovative or how sclerotic your universities and systems are. So let me introduce the first speakers, Veronica Campbell, who is the Dean of Graduate Studies here at Trinity College. She's a Professor of Physiology, Principal Investigator in the Institute of Neuroscience and the Trinity Centre for Bioengineering. And she will speak about the plans and implementation of the Innovation Academy, which is a local initiative between the two major universities in Dublin. And I think there are resonances between what the goals and ambitions there are with what the goals and ambitions are of the EIT and the KICs. So Veronica, would you kick us off, please?
Good morning, everybody. I do hope you're having a pleasant visit to our city of Dublin. I'd like to describe as a case study this morning an initiative within Ireland that we believe is creating new talent by providing innovation and entrepreneurship training that's specifically geared towards PhD students from across all disciplines, that has collaboration at the fore, and is building a multidisciplinary community that involves PhD researchers, academics, entrepreneurs, and industry. Now, this initiative, as John has said, it's not part of one of the current KICs, but we believe the approach may be of relevance to the next group of KICs that will be launched soon. So just to put into context, first of all, doctoral training within Ireland. Over the past few years, the 7 Irish universities have worked together through the Irish Universities Association to create a 4th level network. And this is concerned with a structured approach to doctoral training, where students conduct their original research and they are also trained in discipline-specific skills and also have an opportunity to be supported in developing a range of transferable skills. And ethics, communication, entrepreneurship and personal development have been identified as being of key importance. And it's the entrepreneurship element that I'm going to describe in the case study this morning. So in 2010, Trinity College Dublin formed a collaboration with University College Dublin to form the Innovation Academy. And in the past few months, Queen's University Belfast has also become part of that relationship, and the formal launch of the partnership with Queen's is actually going to take place at a special ceremony later this afternoon. So through the Innovation Academy, the 3 universities have developed and deliver a postgraduate certificate in innovation and entrepreneurship that is available to all PhD students from across all disciplines within these universities. This programme has academic leads from each of the partner institutions, and those academic leads coordinate academic staff within the home institutions who have particular skills to bring to the Innovation Academy, and they also coordinate a team of facilitators who help to deliver the programme. A key aspect of the programme is the relationship and engagement with external organisations from enterprise across all types of enterprise, charities, multinationals, not-for-profit, and also entrepreneurs. And just to point out that this initiative has been funded, it has a grant, a 5-year grant from the Higher Education Authority, which is the body that funds the Irish universities, but it's also supported by the institutions themselves by either making staff available or by providing staff space and facilities for the Innovation Academy. So the mission of the Innovation Academy is to develop PhD graduates who are expert in their discipline. That's essential. That's always been core part of PhD training. That doesn't change. They'll be conducting and delivering on original research. But through the Innovation Academy, they're also being equipped with skills, confidence and networks that allow them to take their knowledge and their ideas and to translate those into maybe a new product, a new service, a new policy, or cultural innovation, for example. So that's what we're attempting to do. And you'll see from this mission statement that we are aiming for the Innovation Academy to be accessible to students from all disciplines. So the postgraduate certificate in innovation and entrepreneurship is structured around accredited modules that the PhD students take alongside their PhD research, and they dip into these modules at a time that suits their various research commitments. Core to all of these modules is working in multidisciplinary teams, a learning by doing ethos, and a lot of interaction with external organisations and entrepreneurs who come in and feed into these various modules, as well as academic experts. In the first 2 core modules, the focus really is on creativity, communication skills, challenges, and pitching their idea. And the 4 modules you see listed on the bottom are more focused on business awareness, their intellectual property rights, and leadership development. Now, the first group of students, or of our PhD students who've completed this full 30-credit postgraduate certificate are actually being conferred in a special ceremony later this afternoon, which will be presided over by our Minister of Education, Rory Quinn. So we have 15 students who've completed this entire suite of modules so far, but about 230 PhD students from across the universities have actually started to participate in the Innovation Academy programme. Building community is extremely important in this initiative, and we bring a lot of external organisations in to engage with the students. And this is particularly important in one of the core modules, where the students work in multidisciplinary teams for a short period of time. It's only 2 weeks, and they work with one of those organisations on a particular problem. And they pitch their version of the solution back to the industry host. And you'll see from the range of organisations that we interact with, they're really quite broad. So we have multinationals like SAP, We have cultural organisations like Monster Truck, which is an art gallery in the Temple Bar region of Dublin. We have Deborah Ireland, which is a charity. It's focusing on skin diseases. So we have a range of organisations that will come in and engage with our students, and they're very happy to do so. We're also linked in with the Irish Technology Leadership Group, which is based in Silicon Valley, and a range of patent attorneys and also entrepreneurs will also link in with our students, and that's also part of building the community. So this is a snapshot of some of the entrepreneurs that we've brought in to engage with our students and to plug into the various modules that we run. So we have Emmeline Hill on the top there, for example, is an innovative researcher and entrepreneur from University College Dublin. Stephen Collins here is a Trinity graduate and founder of HEAnet. We also bring in people from further afield. So we had Peter Kelly from Alto in Dublin a few weeks ago, and he plugged into the Planning a Venture module. So we're trying to expose our PhD researchers to our local talent, our local entrepreneurs, but also recognise that building community broader afield is very important for them. And what about our PhD researchers? What do they say about their experience of the Innovation Academy? Well, in their feedback, they say that the Innovation Academy has provided them with skills and networks that they would not otherwise have had, as well as a deeper appreciation of innovation and entrepreneurship. And just to give you some highlights of some of their achievements to date, oops-a-daisy, sorry. Stephen Sheridan is an engineering student here in Trinity. He was selected to attend the Entrepreneurship Summer School in the University of Twente last year. He pitched his idea and he presented his business plan, and those are skills that he would have developed within the Innovation Academy, and he won first prize at that Entrepreneurship Summer School, so we're very proud of him. Eileen Diskin with the Flamingo, she is her PhD was on conservation with a particular focus on flamingos. She was selected from young researchers from across Europe to present her research and communicate the value of her research to the Falling Walls lab competition in Berlin, and she was a runner-up prize winner there, so that's a great success. So communicating their research and the value within their research is a skill that's developed within the Innovation Academy. Joanne McMahon used her researcher video pitch as well as her networks in the Innovation Academy to raise funding for a water conservation project in Kenya. And this is just a snapshot of some of her student skills. Time is up, so I'm going to stop there with some of the challenges that we face within the Innovation Academy as we roll this out further, and to draw your attention to our website, and the new content on that website has gone live within the last couple of days, so I do ask you to invite you to have a look at that. Thanks, John. My time's up, so I'll...
Okay. Veronica, so we've heard about this new add-on to this conventional PhD experience in universities. The two perhaps follow-on questions, and I think you in your last slide you had it about supervisors. And the question is the buy-in from across the university. This can apply to all of Europe. What is the level of buy-in or resistance to this add-on? Because I can see many supervisors would see this as stealing time from students who are doing research. So that's one. And the second is the rollout of this across the whole system. So this selects a small number of students. The rollout across the whole university, for instance, is a key. In other words, the cost of it. I think this is probably an issue for the KICs as well, because since the very ambitious plan of the KICs is to transform all of Europe, the EIT's plan is to transform all of Europe, and so its challenges will be how to roll out or permeate all of Europe what they are doing. So the way the challenges are similar. Could you maybe just say something very briefly about all of those?
Yeah, well, first of all, the supervisor issue is not to be underestimated. Of the 230 students who've engaged with the Innovation Academy so far, they all have approval from their supervisors to come and spend the time in the Innovation Academy. Supervisors in particular disciplines, can be very cautious about students spent training is time away from the laboratory or time away from the library. So we have a lot of relationship building with the supervisors that we do. We go out and the Innovation Academy team meet with supervisors. They bring the students in so that the students can explain to the supervisors what benefits they've received through their engagement with the Innovation Academy. But supervisors and PhD training is an issue not just within the Innovation Academy. I think any time a student leaves the laboratory to go and undertake some type of training, whether it's statistics or communication skills, or indeed to participate in some teaching, there's always a little bit of an axis there between the student, the supervisor, and the time commitment. We're constantly trying to engage the supervisors to help them understand the value of this training.
And just very briefly on the rollout.
The rollout, big issue with rollout is of course cost. That is critically essential, but you'll notice that we have engaged with lots of external organisations and entrepreneurs. These people give of their time for free. They are part of the network. They're very happy to come in and share their experiences with the students, and our PhD students get a great value from that interaction, and the people who come in get great value from interacting with our PhD researchers. So I think you have to be quite opportunistic about where you can access people to come in and help effectively deliver the programme. And these are the people that are actually doing this. And the motto of the Innovation Academy is learning by doing. So the very hands-on engagement can really be helped by external people coming in.
Okay, well thank you very much, Veronica. So let's move on. So we've got the first of our 3 testimonials. And the first is Pep Salas Pratt. Who is an interesting combination of being an entrepreneur and a student. He's a founder of one company and a co-founder of another in the energy space. He's an engineering PhD candidate in technology and humanism at UPC Barcelona. So it'll be interesting to hear his views about his experience with the KICs, with the KIC, particular KIC. And also maybe how PhD training in his experience connects with entrepreneurship. You know, are they aligned or not? So I ask you to give us your thoughts and views.
Good morning, and first of all, of course, thank you for inviting me and invite to share with you the experience that has been an entrepreneur within the KIC Energy. And what I would like to introduce is, of course, we can talk about lots of different things like business, like infrastructure, like really ambitious goals. But I would like also to introduce you the fact that at the end of the day, we are just also persons. We have our problems, daily problems, we have our expectations. And in my case, as an entrepreneur, a strong commitment with the European energy future, increase the security supply, reduce emissions, and so on. And this is why Enerbyte, the company that I was founded, tried to address. Enerbyte, and there's really a few words about this, we are trying to provide energy consumer insights for change the behavior of people for saving energy. So it means that we need a lot of technology from the IT. So it means big data, let's say data mining, analysis, and so on. And afterwards giving intensive sociological and psychological tips and recommendations and suggestions for people changing his behavior. We do this through the utilities, so energy retailers are our customers, and it's glad for us to announce that we already have some customers, and we are doing this as an entrepreneur, like a really great achievement. 1 year ago, or maybe 18 months ago, we started to, we got notice about KIC Energy. We are based in Barcelona, and because of the news and by different ways, we just explained them the business idea that we had. Honestly, at this stage was really initial stages of us. And after 6 months of 2 assessments, they decided to take part of the company. And since 1 year ago, then we have been incubated in the collocation of Iberia. You know that there are different collocations around Europe, and and we are there in the Sant Cugat and Barcelona's ones. And the experience has been really extremely positive. So my commitment, our commitment, I think that fits well with KIC No Energy approach for energy future of Europe, and KIC No Energy fits well in what we want. And this is the basis of a good deal for both parts. So feel free to just share what you are doing. Feel free to compare and to grow together. And I would like also to announce that after this period of time, we have been raised in a first financial round with different investors, and one of them are the investment fund from KIC No Energy, and this is absolutely a very new, a good news, because it means that after this first seed, let's say, support, we are growing up together, that this was the commitment that we agreed 1 year before. Once I've said this, and this experience, and of course we can share afterwards wherever you want, I would like to put the stress of this short speech in one specific thing that for me this is basic, that this is about people. So within the different collocations, within KIC No Energy, within the different KICs, within EIT, at the end of the day there are a lot of high value people from different skills, from different backgrounds, with different interests, why not? And I think that after this year that I've tried to be involved in different events and different levels within KICs and EIT, I would extremely encourage you that try to meet people personally, try to create these networks, and try to build upon these relationships, the future of EIT and the future of Europe. At the end of the day, we are plenty of different people, but we have a common interest. And I think that if we are able to make something in the future, it will be based on the personal relationships that we strongly believe that are the basis of this. And in this context, the framework that EIT and KICs offers to the entrepreneurs, also the PhD and wherever, to the whole community of involved in the EIT, are really powerful. And this European approach is absolutely necessary because of the situation that we are suffering today. And I would like just to encourage all of you to take the opportunity to understand that behind the top-down analysis, there are also a bottom-up reality that it's based on, again, on individuals. And this is, for me, the high value that KIC and No Energy and EIT are offering as entrepreneurs, no? And this means that sometimes very simple things like the people that you are working with daily, and just the support, the human being that they are supporting you in terms of the good things that we have, but also the bad things that, of course, as entrepreneurs we have had and we will have for sure. And this is where you feel you are not alone. And during the process of being an entrepreneur, these supports are absolutely necessary. And I think that it's the experience that the most valuable experience that we have had, and it's exactly what we wanted to share with you. So any questions that you might have, just talk about, and then we can carry on afterwards. Thank you.
Is there any quick question to him right now before he sits down? We come back again. Perhaps I might ask him, just to clarify, did you set up your company before joining the KIC, or did you set it up after being accepted by the KIC?
Well, actually it was absolutely a parallel process. Yeah. So, you know, the idea was being shaped in parallel. We were two entrepreneurs. I come more from the energy market because of my former experience. My colleague comes more from the business side. And during this process, the integration and the iteration with KIC No Energy was absolutely great, because we developed in some way. So they forced us to fix some ideas, they forced us to have deadlines to mature the idea, and then I would say that it was really a parallel process.
There was a lot of questions yesterday about the added value of the KICs, or about what might have happened without the KICs. So perhaps you're an example. Is it possible to say what might have happened if you had become part of the KIC, or if you were from a different region of Europe where there was no nearby location? What has been the added value?
As I said before, I think that as a whole Europe we have the common problems in terms of energy, and then the solution should be from one side adapted to each location, but at the same time is aligned European-wide in the same legislation and framework. So I think that this is the both duration that we should keep, and for us, or for me personally, it would be, for instance, our company maybe fits well also in the collocation of Benelux or in Sweden, for instance. And why not? We are really able to have partners there, or maybe ourselves move there, wherever it is. And I think that this is basic to have this approach right since the beginning. Is absolutely necessary for any company that wants to grow up in this market.
So it did add a lot of opportunity for you.
Yeah. Personally and as a company.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's pretty good. Thank you very much for that. Let's move on to our second speaker, Kai Kuikaniemi, if I can pronounce it properly. He's another entrepreneur, but he's also involved in research. He has founded two companies also, this time in information technology. In terms of his research, he's a project manager in the Helsinki Institute for Information Technology, focusing on human-computer interaction. So he will also be able to give us a view of how entrepreneurship and being an academic researcher, or being in that environment, can overcome barriers based on his experience. So I'd like to let's hear from him.
Thank you for inviting me here. It's really exciting. It's sort of being the grassroots and now seeing the big picture is quite revealing. It's some of the details that we have been exposed with the EIT ICT labs look quite different from now on. It's sort of like seeing forest from the tree. So I come from Helsinki, from Aalto University, and there is the institute called Helsinki Institute for Information Technology. I work with big screens, interactive big screens, and a lot of people around them. The screens can be touch screens, or they can be interact with the mobile phones. And throughout the last 5 years, we have been doing quite a lot of research around this thing, and then we have this one startup there now. I have some startup experience earlier. In the beginning of 2001, 2002, we had a previous startup around a little bit similar themes, but that's just past history. In this talk, I thought that I would share a couple of experiences, specifically talk about the CLCs, what's my experience on the CLC structure, how is the community working actually within the ICT labs, and then something about how do we perceive the KPIs. So starting with the CLC, I think it's great, first of all. It really differentiates many other sort of financing schemes that I've seen earlier, and of course it takes time to build the sort of legacy and this kind of power that is in the CLC. And in Helsinki we used to have a little bit smaller CLC in the beginning of the ICT labs, but then in the beginning of this year we moved to a new facilities, a new place, and it changed a lot. It really changed a lot. We have now new startups coming in and been hosted in the CLC, and perhaps a sort of testimonial or an example how well the CLC is currently functioning is that there is this one of the most successful startups that is hosted in the Helsinki node. They are now like the model in the CLC is such that you are allowed to spend roughly 6 months of your time in the CLC when you are incubating your company, and then you need to move out. And they are now in the phase that they need to be moving out. And I was just walking around in the CLC and then heard the CEO of this company talking on the phone. he was calling to the property owner and asking whether he could find any slot around the CLC, because he likes the community so much he doesn't want to move that far away from the CLC. And I think that's a great testimonial that the CLC is actually working and driving a lot of innovative new people around there. And this has really changed during the last 1 year, mainly because there was a heavy investment in Helsinki on putting up really nice facilities and thinking about how to make the whole CLC experience welcoming and a really cool place for people to hang out. And of course, it's not only about the structures, but it's also about the events. So really, I think that's a great asset in the EIT structure. Then about the community in general, so the CLC community is of course very important for me. I've been working mostly in this thematic action line called, or the thematic area in the ICT labs called Smart Spaces. And after now 3 years of action or being involved in the Smart Spaces, I feel that it's a community, and I know the people, and we see how the community is really progress in a way that when we are setting up the projects for the next year, we are not really taking only those people we know, but we are able to critically evaluate whether we should package the projects in a new way, because the understanding about the community is better, and I think that community sense functions in the thematic area level. But then again, for me, the whole ICT labs is still a rather vague community. I know the people in the CLC mostly in other nodes only, not only in Helsinki, mostly because my topics have been such that I've been able to go all around the other CLCs. But I don't really know what's happening in the other thematic areas of the ICT labs. And building more bridges between these thematic areas would be probably quite important. And it's of course, now yesterday we heard that we want to build bridges between KICs, but I think that the first step might be actually start building bridges between the thematic areas. This is of course a challenge, and I think that you need to start somewhere, and to have these good communities within the thematic areas is already a really valuable thing. Then about the KPIs, it's in the beginning they felt really confusing, and we modeled our projects around the KPIs, not to really know what was expected and how do you really prove those KPIs and so on. I think that they are improving definitely, and what we heard, for example, this year is it's really making them much more concrete, and I think that overall, hearing yesterday the talk about how to measure the KICs and so on, the thinking behind the KPIs makes a lot more sense to me now. I of course understand the challenge, and these KPIs are meant for measuring the impact outside what's happening in the grassroots, but it needs to make sense also for the grassroots. And for this reason, you need to really invest a lot in establishing these measures. They are not just words, they need to be more. There needs to be some kind of structure around these kind of KPIs. And of course, the KPIs cannot be the only way. And it was really nice to hear yesterday that there is this sense of thinking that okay, KPIs isn't the only measure, but it's I would appreciate actually much more feedback. Currently, researchers' feedback is how many publications you have, but if you want to improve in the innovation pipeline, then we need to give more feedback to the innovators constantly, and I guess the only way is to expose them more, to communicate on what their ideas are about, and this is just organizing events, make them pitch more about their ideas, and expose different kind of communities. But I think this action is ongoing, but there should be much more, and perhaps even the management of the ICT labs or the KICs should go to the grassroots and listen to really like what are these cases all about, and give feedback, does it make sense, and so on. That's I think my time is up, and thank you for having me. And
thank you, Kai, for that. So you can hear the importance of the CLCs and provision of community, that access to broader community was very important to you, and I think that comes across very strongly, very clearly. Also, I think we've appreciate your honest appraisal of what can be done better. You talk about the KPIs and maybe a good justification of a meeting like this is that you say you go away with a better understanding of those than you did coming in. So communication is obviously an important issue. Your recommendation of building bridges internally before you go think about what happens between KICs, and especially from this morning and what we talk about in the next session of building bridges and synergies with regions and so on. So I think that was very honest. Perhaps I could ask you the same question as I asked before. Is, you know, if you had not become involved in the KIC, what would happen? What would have happened to you?
Yeah, no, it's you know, even more concretely, the position that question to, you know, what would happen to our startup if it would have been the KIC. I think that we would have had the startup for sure, because the action was already established before the KIC was there in Helsinki. But what has happened there is that throughout the years we have been able to iterate the idea better, and I think this iteration is fundamental. You need to do these pivots or pivots in order to progress your business thinking, not only in terms of technology, but overall to have a comprehensive design of your business case. And these pivots probably have turned out to be completely different. And now I feel that I have a much more ambitious and a sort of clear vision on how the idea can be spread in a sort of simplistic way to the wider scope than what was our original starting point. So I think that the involvement with the KIC has provided for me a sort of vision to be more ambitious, and also the sort of practical comprehension of how these things can be rolled out in Europe, because without that I would have only a limited Finnish perspective.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That's very clear. So let's move on to our final panelist, Andreas Reinhardt. He's a student, and I think we're going to hear his personal account of what that meant to be a student involved in the KIC. While he was a master's student at Imperial College London, he joined the climate KIC, where he studied the interplay of energy technology, economics, policy making, and climate change. If you get older than that. And he's currently secretary of the Climate KIC Alumni Association. So that shows that he values his experience sufficiently to carry on the association. So I think as a student, we've heard about from two entrepreneurs. Here's a student. So let's hear from you.
Yes, so this is your third client today talking to you. And my account is the personal account of how a student learns about Climate KIC and then applies for participating in the summer school. And then we will go through the summer school a bit, and we will end up here 1 year after the whole program. And on the way we will pick up 4 ingredients I think are important to create a unique entrepreneurial experience for a student. So this account starts at the cafeteria of Imperial College, where I was hanging out with a friend and having a coffee. And then another friend of his joined in, and they were starting to talk about projects they worked on. And they were both still students, but it sounded very professional and very... They had a very big stake in the project. So I thought, this is not just some 3 ECTS points, something you hand in and forget about. And so I became curious, and they explained a bit more, and I noticed, oh yeah, this goes beyond the usual pattern of a professor coming up with a test to find out whether you actually read the book. So this is something connected to the real world. And that thing was called Climate Kick, and the program in which they did the projects was the Journey, which is a 5-week summer school, and it brings together a group of 50 students from across Europe, from the different collocation centers. And the group is very diverse. You have everything from the architect and the designer up to the chemical engineer, or me. My background back then was historian of science. And but what brings all them together is a can-do mentality and mutual motivation to actually apply all the stuff we learned the last 3 or 4 years in our studies, and to have a real impact. And that was summed up very nicely by one student, because she said, yeah, you know, I want to do something that matters, not marketing for lipsticks. And that is kind of the atmosphere you go on the trip with. And then the trip is very important because it is the concept of contextual learning. So everything you learn in these 5 weeks on about climate change and entrepreneurship, it is always connected to the location you are at the moment. So my summer school started in the Netherlands, and there we had the first input on climate change on issues like rising sea levels and water management and clean water problems. Because in the Netherlands, that's where the expertise is. And they opened the labs and they showed what they work on at the moment. And then quite quickly, there were little groups forming around problems we found specifically interesting. And so that is the third part of the experience, is that there is guidance from experienced coaches and business trainers, but it's the students themselves forming the groups and identifying a problem and developing a strategy to tackle the problem in a way that in the end of the 5 weeks boils down into a business plan. And with that, that requires a lot of testing of your solutions and gathering feedback from experts in the field and from potential clients. And that brings me to the fourth ingredients, and that is an open door policy at all the collocation centers we went through. So whenever we phoned a professor or we approached a company that is partnering with Climate Kick, we were always very welcomed. And that was amazing, just to see how much it is valued if you put in the effort and you go to a meeting well prepared and you approach a leading expert in the field of, let's say, water management. And that 1.5 hour talk saves you 2 hours, 2 weeks of desk research. So that is one lesson, for example, one personal lesson. I learned that people know often more than books. And so these 4 ingredients, that they transfer proactive students into really entrepreneurial students who are motivated to tackle problems and to do that together with a multidisciplinary team. Now, the result of all that at the end of the 5 weeks is pitching in front of a jury and about a 200 people audience of your problem solution. And then afterwards you get very professional feedback on your performance and on your ideas, which is very nice. And the only thing is, and that's where the Climate Kick Alumni Association comes in, what happens afterwards? Because there are a couple of support schemes if you want to actually become an entrepreneur, but let's be honest, that's about 5 to 10% that really goes the step into setting up their own company. So my challenge here would be, how do we keep that entrepreneurial spirit alive when the students go into kind of normal jobs and how do we manage that the climate kick in the CV is not just like a nice add-on, but it really distinguishes unique characters and experts in their field.
Well, thank you very much, Andreas. There you heard it from the heart.
So I was going to ask you, how do you feel about all the vast majority of students who have not had the privilege of being involved in the KIC? Do you have great sympathy for them?
Oh, of course I have sympathy. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame because it is due to the contact with the real world that you actually also learn as a student that what you read up in the library, that there is an actual need for that, and that it is valued, and the more the closer you are with the idea, without several bureaucratic layers which you would have in like big companies, the more rewarding just the learning and the working is.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, can I throw it open to the floor? I see 2 hands here. We start today in the back and we work on.
Hi, my name is Shabsraj Shekran from Tech Spain. Just a note on the KPIs for publications, and KPIs in general. I think the best kind of KPIs are the ones that you control and the ones that you can't control. So number of publications is good, but then who cites those publications if it has been cited, and not self-citations obviously, and how much of the knowledge you have written has gone on to other work, I think is a really good pointer to the impact of publications. And it's the same with, you know, for example, coming to a conference. You can present at a conference. I think it's getting a lot easier nowadays to present at conferences because people want you to go and pay registration, but it doesn't mean that, that doesn't always mean that your work is considered as, you know, something of high quality. So the people you meet at conferences and the networking, and whether that leads to further synergies could be another way of measuring that kind of impact. And it's the same with patents, etc. It's not the number, but, you know, the number you sell, the royalties, those kind of things.
Okay, that's a comment. Thank you for that. So here, front.
Okay, I wanted to ask the guys whether they feel T-shaped. Yeah. So IBM has this notion that popularizes T-shaped people who have a core skill and then a broader collection of skills. So I suppose the question is, what shape of skills do you feel you have, and how do you feel the KIC shaped them?
What are the other options?
No, there's the bottom feeder, who has a very short eye, who doesn't go up very far. And then there's the generalist, who's just a big flat pancake who sits in that corner. There are lots of shapes. Around this room, there are lots of people with different disciplines have different shapes.
I've been often thinking about this T thing, and my answer would there be that spiral. That I think that nowadays it's really important to change your skill set and restructure your skill set all the time, and also to understand the nature of innovation also as a sidekick thing. So I do appreciate the T model, and it's been inspiring, but I would choose spiral for sure.
Somebody else? Are you T-shaped? Are you in the alphabet?
Yeah. As far as I understand, the T-shape is that you have the I part, which is your expertise in one field, and going very far down into the nitty-gritty bit, and that is required to get accepted to the program in the first place. I mean, you have to be really good at what you're doing. And then the T, like the bar, that is important for what I mentioned about the groups forming themselves, because the further the wider your bar is, the more easy it is to connect to other people and to other disciplines. Yeah.
All right. Any other question or comment, suggestion?
This question was really meant for Veronica, but anybody else who wants to answer it is welcome to do so. I'm particularly interested in what these types of educational offering tell you about the future of universities. And in particular, I'm interested in, if you like, the opportunity, or you might think of it as the challenge of massively online courses which make lecture theatres like this seem a bit redundant, compared to the sort of experience that our three colleagues at the front have had that you're giving the Innovation Academy to students.
Maybe I'll begin by responding with that. Yes, I think the whole higher education sector is monitoring the MOOCs and the online movement quite closely, and I think there are certain advantages that can come with technology-enhanced learning into our curricula, that, for example, freeing up lecture time so that students can do more hands-on experiential learning. Personally, an institution like Trinity and our partners in the Innovation Academy would not see online learning as being a replacement for the experiential and the on-campus experience that students get. I think that's vitally important. Making the physical networks that they do through the academy and that these guys have done, I think, is absolutely essential. Online tools can maybe help that to a certain extent with discussion boards, for example. So KICs and co-location centres can probably, and probably do, use technology to enable that type of engagement and dialogue. And even though they may not be physically together all the time, they can become virtually together on a regular basis, and then support that through the types of workshops that we've heard about today. So I don't think it's a replacement, but I think it can, online can make a contribution to what we're trying to do.
Now, there must be a lot of academics in the audience from universities, institutes across Europe. I'd like to get a sense of what impact this type of new instrument is having within your organizations, if any, or to what extent are your organizations, your universities, changing? Any of you from people in the audience, academics, if you were present, or you've heard enough to say in public?
Do you mean books, or do you mean this kind of training?
This kind of training, yes. Yeah. In other words, we're talking about transformation. Here we're talking about impact, transformation, adding something new. So the question is how much can that be embedded in the existing system? I guess is my question. And is it adapting? Is it receptive? Maybe you have an answer.
So I think, for my institution, for example, then we already made quite a substantial investment in entrepreneurship training. I've had entrepreneurship already built into the master's courses for some considerable time. And the linkage to industrial context is quite close in terms of the structure. I think the benefit around EIT is time, because in the UK anyway it's only a one-year program, and also the fact that they build a concept of the European market because of the movement, particularly with the journey, which I'm very impressed with. I think there's one thing that we could adopt and do that.
Any other comment at the very back? Okay.
Sorry, this isn't a response to your last point. My name's Rajiv Day. I run a company called Internships, and we work with over 4,500 entrepreneurs and over 35,000 entrepreneurial students, and I'm one of the few entrepreneurs in the room. I know there was a point made on this yesterday. And my problem is, when I read the title of this session, it talked about the multiplier effect and how you engage with young talent. I'm still not 100% clear on how the KICs are actually trying to engage those students and young people beyond the ones that study in their own institutions. I'm saying this, I mean, the reason I found out is I spoke at this conference 2 years ago, and I still don't know what the message is for the young people that we work with. How can we tell them to get involved with the KICs? I'd like to hear from the institutions or potentially the students that are represented about how are they engaging those that are beyond their own academic institutions.
Okay, that's it. Yes. We may have an answer here.
Sorry, another question. My name is Professor from Technologies. I would like to ask a question to the entrepreneurs and fledgling entrepreneurs. We heard a lot of very good ideas about how the KICs can help you with your initial business planning and so forth, but have you come as far yet where you need to scale up your business or your foreseen business, where you actually need investors for that business? And do you see already for the KICs there that can help you getting investments to really scale up your business?
Okay, well, I think we'll take those as a last two. So, anybody care to address those? Well, the first one was the multiplier effect. What does it mean? And the other was how can the KICs help to scale up new ideas? So, perhaps we start with the second one, since we have two people here who have been involved in exactly that. Do you see scaling up?
Yeah, I hope that will be coming soon. At the moment, it's not there yet. But then again, I felt very fortunate that often you need to either bootstrap or then you need to really spend a lot of time in getting financing, not even to scale up, just to sustain your business development in the startup phase. And now with the involvement of the innovation projects and so on, I think that we have been able to mature our business case, not only in terms of technology, but wider, before going to the money. And of course, like when you go to money, you already define a lot of your business case. You can't change your financing body if you realize, okay, now our idea is a little bit shifting. And you know, being able to do pivots before you really commit to certain financing model or certain financier, it's a really great thing, I think. But of course, it's another way around. You need to go there at some point. You cannot be just 5 people all the time.
Okay. Quick.
Well, regarding this question about the financials, of course, as I said before, KIC Energy and the companies are perfectly aligned with the same business approach and commercial approach. And what does it mean is that, of course, we want to create value to the company, and it will be necessary to get more and more funds in the different stages that you will try to grow. And the experience that we have had is that for each stage there are different instruments. Our personal experience is that at the beginning they are the fast track, the highest way path for helping you. The second level of involvement is through the investment fund. That this is European-wide, and for sure they are taking share of the company, and it's necessary to have a clear exit of this participation, because it's necessary to create a virtuous circle in order to try to push the company as much as possible and try to get funds back for investing in new ventures. So I think that the line is totally, and there are, I would say maybe there are two different phases. The beginning, that they are involved and commit directly, and the secondly, trying to find third parties to invest for getting the exit of KIC. And what I would say regarding this is that at the end of the day, we have been talking about a lot of KPIs and I don't know what, but what is clear is that after 5 years, for instance, the most important thing maybe would be the track record that the companies in our case have had during this period of time. And if we are able to create a real value companies and we are really able to offer a real value proposition to the society, to the market, the track record will absolutely help to everybody to increase this potential attraction of financials and so on. And for me, this is more action. So let's do this. Let's put everybody of us our best, and then build together the project. You know? And the experience is this.
Okay, good. Thank you. Just an answer to the previous question about the multiplier effect and how does the word spread. I guess that's an issue that maybe cannot be addressed very easily by the present panelists. But you can see the spreading the word is ambassadors are vitally important. You have 3 great ambassadors here. And the question is, how can you spread the word? I think they are spreading the word. And how can that be maybe structured more so that more people know that there's a wonderful experience to be got by being involved. So perhaps we can't really address it here. Anyway, I think we do need to wrap up because the next session, one thing I would draw from this session, that is, it's all about people. It's people, people, people.